So, catch up on the mini dumper power barra. We have encountered our first problem. The steering control cable is a identical one each side, has snapped from that little eyelet which sits inside the handle. Looking online, I can't find anything exactly the same. I haven't contacted Mart yet, but I need it operational now, not in a week or a month when they send a part or try and bill me for a part, because obviously I've literally only used this hours cumulatively, and this is snapped. And obviously if this one snapped, then the one the other side may well snap. So I tried an electrical connector to crimp on it with no success. They're just simply not strong enough. I didn't expect it to. It pulled it out and then ripped it out of the crimp anyway. But chock block connector made of brass that holds. Tried it on the handle and it didn't stay in, because when you lift the handle up, that slides out the top. So I've come up with this banding, so that will go there. That inside there attached to the cable should give me roughly about the same distance, and then I can put the cap back on. Also, this is made of plastic, and get it in shot, it is starting to chew up a little bit. So how long these will survive, especially when they go brittle in the sun, I don't know. Time will tell, as they say. Well, that inside there doesn't fit in that bit. Fits up there, but then your cable's up here, which is not where it needs to be. It's got to be here. So I skipped it and went to just the brass piece there and the securing screw. Get the bloody thing in shot. The securing screw goes through. That worked. It held between the two screw heads. Only problem is that won't hold the tension on the cable. It is so tight and heavy to actuate the lever. It just ripped the cable straight out of the fitting. So I'm a bit stumped at the minute. Well, I'm tried it again, got it nice and tight, put it in pliers, just tried the hand grip, ripped it straight out the brass. However much tension is this cable under? So I think the other issue is that we've got that fitting there. The cable's already starting to engage. So the time I do that, we're going beyond the movement it needs. So I'm stuck again. Really, this cable has lost the valuable length there, which I cannot substitute with anything. Now I have seen online something like this with one little screw fitting like that, and they're over £5, and I cannot for the life of me seeing one screw holding this cable tight enough. And I've found a couple of similar cables for similar, dumpers, and they're 40 quid each. And I'm not paying 40 effing quid for a cable that's worth about 7. So, back to the drawing board somehow. So, no joy so far. I can't do a temporary bodge to get me going. Anything online is hit and miss as to whether it'll work, a waste of money. So I've contacted Mart, explained the situation to them. They put me through to the technical department, who I then explained the situation to them. He then put me back to the customer services, who are dispatching me 2 cables, because I said one's on the way out and one's snapped. Because I figure sod's law, one will break, the other one's going to go. So that might be something people are mindful of. Not the world's best design, but they're all very similar no matter what you buy, and the price point on them. So this might as well turn into a 4-month use it review. It's not done huge amounts of work, as you can see from the tyres. They've still got the little pips on them. Now, talking of tyres, the issue with them has been not the tyre itself, but the inner tubes. In the assembly instructions, I can't remember what the PSI bar is, but it's slightly under what the tyre rating is. Now, when I first played with this and it was got about half a load of sand in it, worked fine, and then I noticed that the stems of the tubes were sort of like that, slipping, because the tyres were slipping around the rims, or vice versa, depending on how you look at it. And it had damaged the stem. I put a little piece of tubing around it to protect it, but unfortunately, whether that had a slight leak on that tube, a couple of times later I'd sort of messing around with it and noticed the tyre was flat. The tube had gone round so far it had torn the valve stem out, and we were stranded once again. So it was Amazon Prime to the rescue. A day later I get a pair of tubes. So make sure that you keep them well inflated, because if not, the rims will slide and tear the inner tubes out. That's been the only issue so far, touch wood, with the tyre slipping and damaging the tubes. So that is another thing I've kept in stock. I purchased an additional tube so that should it happen again, or I do get a puncture, then I've always got one to throw on. Changing the wheels and the split rims are a doddle, no problem there at all. The tub, well, it's not super thick, but someone did say I'd put it on wrong. I did try and explain to them that you can't put it on wrong, because the pins, I think he seemed to think that one should be this side and one the other, because he clearly didn't look at the video properly. So you can only put it on one way. There is a little bit of movement there, but you've got your catch system here, which is the only other thing, is that it doesn't automatically lock back in place. You have to physically push the lever around to lock it in, and yes, I have forgotten that. And as I come down off the patio, it jumped up a little bit. So yeah, something sprung loaded would have been better. Other than that, it hasn't really been an issue. The only other problem I can see in the future is this will end up getting damaged, this gear selector plate, although some of the variations of this little dumper don't have it anyway. So again, if it's sort of out of the warranty period, it'll still work fine without it. You're just not really au fait by that time with where the position of the gears are. The distance I travel and the speed I walk at, I've not really needed to use the second and third gear anyway. First gear on the throttle is ample for, you know, just a walking pace with a load in it anyway. So that so far has been my experience with it. Wear and tear parts, wearing prematurely, I guess, is the only thing I can say. But so far, other than that, it's been okay. The load I was moving were these concrete blocks, which are substantial, but nowhere near its claimed 300 kilo payload. So I will do a feature update on it when time permits. Okay, so the cable came today. Securing point is down there. It's a bit hard to see, and the camera doesn't quite want to focus down there. And the piece there. I found it easier to route the cable on this side to give you the better angle. You also need to just take the belt off, which is just, you can just lift that off and then rotate it around, slip it out of the way. The belt cover has to come off as well, and then reroute the cable back under how it should be there, because if it's this side, there's a tendency it will be a bit close to the pulley and could chafe. So connect this in first, and then you can loop it back under, and this is a natural barrier to keep that cable away from the pulley. And then just route it round. The other difference I've done this time is I'm keeping the cable on the inside of the barra rather than the outside how it came, because it does tend to make this sit a little bit better. This one is at a slightly different angle to the other side. Maybe it's just a manufacturing process. In fact, the other one's got a clamp on it, and I think this one's screwed up into the handle. So it's all back in now. I've just got to tighten up the various screws, put the circlip back on, do this nut back on, and put the belt shield back on, and hopefully we'll be up and running. Okay, that's with the shield all back on. That all goes, you find it easier just to give yourself a bit of clearance if you do this job, to put your catch forward, and it moves this bolt here out of the way when you're putting the shield back on, and all the mounts go on the top. And that's all back. Screws are all done. This is all back on. It does seem a little bit smoother, so we'll give it a test. So as you can tell, we've now moved it, so we've had success so far. So I'll give it a load test and see how we go. But for now, that's it.